Hey, what's up guys? As promised, this will be the EUS vs NA vlog. If you don't know what I've been up to for the last month, me, Mo, TF Blade, and Midbeast, we all went to Europe. We wanted to play on the EUS server and see how well we could climb there. And I just wrote down some of my thoughts on how to compare the servers. I know there's a lot of drama of which server is better, EUS or NA, and I kind of wanted to break down the differences and explain, as someone who's now played both servers, I guess, extensively, what the differences in all the different ELO brackets and kind of how the game differs in terms of region. So yeah, I want to talk about that and then kind of discuss a little bit of my progress there, how things went, etc. So yeah, I wrote down some notes. I have a notepad here with just certain things that I want to hit on. But yeah, I guess the first thing I'll talk about is just the trip itself. So like I said, me, Midbeast, Mo, TF Blade, we all went to Europe, and it was just a great time for me. I just really enjoyed the environment, hanging out with all those guys who I consider my friends. It was just a good time. We were just able to grind solo queue during the day. At night we'd all hang out, and it just kind of put me back in that gaming house type of atmosphere that I guess I missed a little bit from being a pro player. I don't know if I would want to live in a gaming house full-time ever again, but doing it for like a month and just being around your friends is just a good time. It kind of made me just more excited about playing League in general. It made me more excited about coming back to NA and climbing, and I think it changed my mindset from what it was previously, where I would normally just get an account to Challenger, and then I would do the same thing on a different account. I would just consistently get accounts to Challenger, and now I'm kind of motivated to, you know, see how high I can climb in NA Challenger. I really haven't run an account into the top 30 or like 20 since about season 6, so I'm excited to do that again. Just being around those players just made me want to grind harder and just climb as hard as possible. But yeah, really enjoyed the trip. It was great. Team Liquid set us up perfectly. We were in a great apartment. We were on the 8th story of a Utrecht apartment building, and me and Mo had our own 4-bedroom apartment just to ourselves. It was crazy. The setup was amazing, and I just really enjoyed it in general. So yeah, about the accounts that I had, I played on 2 different accounts. One of the accounts was NA Crack Jungler, and this was an account that I played only off stream. I duoed with Forgiven, IWDominate, Punisher, and Portstar Zillion on this account. I'd say I do it about 35% of my games, and 65% of the games I played solo. I got to about 385 LP, and that was Challenger on that account. As far as the duo went, the reason why my account had lower win rate on this one than my solo account was because it started in much higher ELO. And then in general, when I was doing with people that were on their main accounts. I didn't like duo abuse with somebody in Diamond. I played with them on accounts that were either like rank 1 or like top 10. So all of them had really good MMR, and we were just able to play in the best games possible in EUS. So I got to play in a ton of Challenger games during that, and yeah, I thought it was just a good experience. I had about 50% win rate with Forgiven and IWDominate. I think that just jungle with like AD or support, a jungle with top doesn't have the same impact as with a mid laner. When I do it with Punisher, if you don't know who Punisher is, he's probably the best Greek mid laner, and he plays a bunch of Cassio Aurelia. He was rank 1 earlier this season, and I do it with him on his former rank 1 account. And this guy is just a monster. He's the best Cassio I've ever seen. We just were able to pretty much win almost every 2v2 for all the games that we played together. So it was just a good experience being able to play over there and just play with some of the Beast players. I also played an on-stream account, which I got to about 320 LP, which was not Challenger. It was about 3 games off Challenger when I left. Unfortunately, our trip was cut short. The Dota team needed our facility, so it was about 6 days shorter than expected, which kind of sucked because I would have liked to, you know, play a little bit more there, kind of run my other account through Challenger, see how high I could get, and then at least get the stream account to low Challenger. But overall, I mean, I got 340 LP, which was Challenger on the off-stream account, and then ended up climbing it to 385. And I got 320 LP, which was high Grandmaster. I think it was like 1 or 2 games off Challenger on the solo-only account that I did on stream. So yeah, that was pretty much how my climb went. I was really happy with it. More important than the LP, I felt like I started playing a lot better. I know a lot of people that are watching my stream just thought I was playing cleaner, and I think that was the goal. You know, I thought I improved myself as a player there, and I think that EUS solo queue is more conducive to improvement than NA solo queue. So let me just jump into the difference between NA and EUS solo queue. I have a bunch of notes written down, and I'm just going to tell you guys kind of how I think about both the regions and the strengths of their solo queue. So first things first, EUS is significantly better than NA solo queue. It's not even close. There's no argument. It's not like, oh, NA might be better in some context, or it might be harder to climb in NA because the players are worse or anything like that. EUS is just strictly a better server than NA. The attitude is different in general. I mean, EUS players, you're supposed to try hard. If you're not try harding, people are going to be mad at you. In NA, it's kind of looked down upon to try hard. It's like, oh, like you're playing your champion, just let me play mine. Like, relax, dude, have fun. Like, that's kind of the mindset that NA has, where EU West, you're expected to try hard, and if you don't try hard, people are going to be upset with it. The way that I kind of see it is EU West is about like 300 to 400 LP better than NA. So a game that's Diamond 1 in NA would be like a Diamond 4 game in EU West in general is what I'd say. Somebody who is about 600 LP in NA would be like a 300 LP player in Master in US. So yeah, the server is just harder. It's obviously harder to climb. The people are better, etc. The main place that I think that they're better is just mid lane. Like, their mid laners are just insane compared to NA mid laners. There's maybe 40 to 50 mid lane players that I played with in EUS where I'm like, wow, this guy could be a professional, you know, right now. Whereas in NA, you rarely ever see an NA player that you think is like, oh, this guy is solid at everything, you know? Maybe in NA, somebody will have a good strength, somebody will be really good at laning phase, somebody might be really good at roaming, but almost always they have massive flaws in their game. But I'd say that EU West, the mid laners are more of like the complete package, where they know how to roam, they know their timings, and just the things that make somebody a little bit better than the other person isn't really knowledge, it's just maybe they play a situation slightly better. So yeah, that's kind of how I see that. Also, just the one thing about the mindset of EUS players is there's a lot less one tricks. It seems like the NA mentality is the reason why there's so many one tricks, at least from the way that I see it, is that North American players care a lot about solo queue, about being like the highest rating they can get, which obviously playing only one champion is the best way to get a really high rating. But in EUS, they kind of see it more as they want to be complete players. They just want to be the best player they can be. And that means that they want to have better champion pools, and they really have aspirations to either make national leagues or make pro leagues. Like, they really want to go somewhere with league, where I feel like NA is more just people want to get high rank playing a champion and then kind of get known or like famous for that. So that's kind of how I see that. Overall, like I said, mechanical ceiling of EUS is much, much higher. The only role that I thought was actually weaker in EUS was surprisingly jungle. I think NA actually has really good junglers in general. So obviously I'm obviously kind of biased because I'm jungle, so I'm playing against other junglers, so I don't know if that's just because of that. But as far as I could tell, when I asked Mo and I asked other like laners, I asked Forgiven, I asked Punisher, who I was playing with, TF Blade, in general, everyone said that the junglers were weaker there. So yeah, I guess that's the conclusion from that, is that EUS kind of has better mid-top AD carry and supports, and then NA has better junglers. So yeah, that's that. In terms of toxicity, okay, this is a big one, because a lot of people talk about EUS, they're like, oh, it's super fucking toxic, like, be careful over there, man, people are crazy. I guess the way I'd see it is that the toxicity there is different than NA toxicity. NA toxicity is like really passive aggressive, like people will just say things that will try to trigger you, and then they'll stop caring and they'll soft int a lot more. EUS, they don't really soft int. They either like run it down, they're like, fuck you, I'm not playing this game, and they run down mid, or they'll just try hard, but they might still type angry stuff. So I guess EUS will say, like, players in EUS will in general say more extreme things, like they'll, you know, wish your whole family gets cancer, they'll tell you to go suicide, they'll, you know, hope that your house gets bombed. They'll say things like that that are really extreme, but they'll still continue to play the game for the most part. Whereas NA, it's more like, oh, you didn't gank my lane? Oh, I told you to gank my lane and you didn't gank. Guess I'm gonna feed now, smiley face. And then they just like stop caring about the game and stop trying, which to me is actually worse. I would much rather play with somebody who, you know, calls me a bunch of ridiculous names but is still trying to win, than somebody who is being really like fake positive in the chat but also doing his best to sabotage the team. So for me, I actually consider EUS like less toxic. They might say more toxic things, but in terms of like them affecting my experience, I'd say that NA is like harder to deal with in terms of toxicity. Another thing that people noticed from my stream is they were telling me, oh, Dom, you're so much less toxic over here, like what happened, why are you so much nicer? I think it just becomes, it comes down to the mindset. Like, the thing that bothers me the most is when people aren't trying to win in a game, and I experienced that less in EUS, which is why I guess I was considered less toxic in EUS than I normally am in NA, because it really just bothers me when people don't really care about the game. So yeah, that's toxicity. It's just different type of toxicity, I'd say. I wouldn't say that US is significantly more toxic. I would just say that they just are toxic in different ways. Okay, another thing that I noticed, champion strength. So there's champions over there in EUS that are super dominant in EUS solo queue that are garbage in NA. So the champions that I noticed that were really, really good in EUS were like Ryze. Ryze, they play at mid top and they're all just really good at it. It's just a powerful pick. Whereas in NA, we don't really prioritize in solo queue. You don't see it that much. It just doesn't have that much power behind the pick. But yeah, Ryze is really good over there. Kaisa is another one. Kaisa is insane. And yeah, I talked to Mo a lot about this. I think the main thing that makes Kaisa players better in EUS is the way that they use their stealth and the way that they can manipulate vision. A lot of NA AD carries, they don't use the stealth well on Kaisa. They'll kind of just stealth and walk to the direction you think they're walking in, and they'll just open up. They use it for attack speed. Whereas EUS, they use it more as an invisibility, where they'll try to fake you out. They'll make it look like they're going one way with their stealth and then immediately double back the other way and gain more distance. So Kaisa is really, really good pick over there. It's like the top AD. All the good AD carries are really good at it. And it's just impressive to me in general, just like seeing how well they play it compared to people in the North American server. The last one was Lux. They play a lot of Aftershock Lux. I've been playing in NA for the last couple days. I haven't been seeing much Aftershock Lux. It doesn't seem like it has the priority over here that it does in EUS. In EUS, excuse me, Aftershock Lux with WMAX is super, super good. You'll see it almost every single game if it's not banned, and they just really love it over there. And I guess the last champion they play a lot in EU that they don't play in NA is Twitch Jungle. I think it might have to do something with Rad IRL being so popular over there and him being such a dominant player on the EUS server that he has a lot of people that copy his strategy. But in general, there's a ton of EUS Twitch players, Twitch jungle players. You'll see them, you know, maybe I'll play against a Twitch jungle 1 out of every 10 games I play, which is much, much higher than I would see one in NA. So yeah, they're really good at Twitch jungle, actually. They understand all the cheesing routes. They are able to get more early kills. And yeah, obviously if that champ gets early kills, they just end up snowballing the game super hard. I would say the only champion that I saw over there that I thought was much, much better here was Riven. It just seems like our Riven 1 tricks are better. Like Adrian, Revenge, Viper, yeah, like all those guys I think are just on another level than the EUS Rivens. EUS Riven players just weren't that good from my experience. So yeah. Okay, so I think I said this before, but yeah, the mindset towards tryharding, EUS in general, they expect tryharding, and NA kind of looks down upon tryharding. It's like, oh, just like play your own game, man. Like, stop trying to tell other people what to do. But this mindset kind of feeds into the way that they view shot calling, and this is the main reason why I think that European teams are just better than North American teams. It comes all the way down to solo queue, and it's the fact that they're more willing to adopt the mindset of everyone listening to the same call is better than a bunch of people listening to different calls. So in EUS, if you make a call, right, like you start pinging Baron, you're like, yo, I want to do Baron right now, like I think it's a good call, and you're really adamant about it, people will run to Baron and they'll attempt to do it with you, and they're going to play the situation the best they can. And if it doesn't go well, afterwards maybe they'll flame you, or you know, they'll tell you, oh, that shit was so bad, I don't know why the fuck we did that, etc. But they'll at least commit to the call. Whereas in NA, everyone kind of does their own thing. So if you call Baron and somebody doesn't want to come to Baron, they're not going to come. They're not going to TP. They're not going to commit to the call. So they'll half-ass the call, and then if the call doesn't work out, they just want to be able to blame the person that made the call. But I think that the EUS mindset is much better, where if you do make a shot call and you are adamant about it, everyone kind of blindly listens to it first. Like they'll say their own thing, or they'll call it off if it needs to be called off. But in general, people are more willing to like contribute and be active with the decision making that happens in EUS, and that helps build I guess a competitive mindset, because when you're in professional games, you're going to need to be able to make those decisions, and you're going to have to commit with your teammates and be willing to execute at a high level with your teammates. Whereas you just don't see that same level of like cooperation in NA. So I'd say that is one of the main things I noticed as a jungler. It felt like if I was pinging a crab, people would move to the crab if they could. If I was pinging a Baron, people would go to the Baron, and they try to play the situation the best they could all the time. So yeah, definitely thought that was one of the main differences. And then I guess I want to talk about like the best players that I saw in US. There was a bunch of players that I thought were really good. So I'm just going to name off the players that really impressed me as a player. Kadril, who's the jungler for XL. I didn't know how good he was at jungle, but I thought he was really, really solid. Does not make many mistakes and is pretty smart about the game. He really impressed me with his play. Punisher, the best Cassio I've ever seen. I ended up doing with him a lot. I thought he was just really, really insane on Cassio. I haven't seen anyone with movement that good on Cassio before. Like he was just the way that he just doesn't miss his Q, and the way that he uses the phase rush and the move speed to just make his champ so slippery is just on another level. Yeah, the best jungler that I played against the whole time was a player named Rabble-Rouser. I'd never heard of him before, but apparently he was 900 LP in Season 8, and in Season 9, I think he's about 700 LP, and I played against him, and he was just really, really smart. I felt like every time I was playing against him, he just always was making the right play, and that impressed me a lot. So he was by far the best jungler I played against when I was there, and yeah, I was really impressed by his play in general. Who else? Larson. Larson is really good. A lot of people don't know him. I think he's potentially going to be on an LEC team next split. Maybe he's going to play with XL. But yeah, this guy is insane. Mid laner, can play everything. Super dominant. Just a complete monster. And the last person that I thought was really, really good was Alfari. This guy wins lane every single game top. He just always wins lane by such big margins. I think that his wave manipulation really just gives him huge leads in the lane that other players wouldn't really get. So to me, he is the best top laner that I saw out there, at least in solo queue. As far as players that I was kind of like unimpressed with, I played against a player named Schubert, who was rank 7 on the ladder, and I don't think he was bad, but for being rank 7, I didn't think that matched his skill. If you don't know who Schubert is, he's the person that invented Terexona, so that kind of just gave me a different mindset towards innovation. Like, innovation in League, there's so many strategies that are probably out there that no one's willing to try, and if you're one of the people that can master this, you can get such an insane like solo queue rating because people just won't know what to do. So Terexona, super OP. I used to think that it was like maybe a cheese strat that had some counterplay to it, and then maybe just people weren't good enough at playing against it to really exploit it. But the more I played against it there, and the more I played against it, like really good people playing Terexona, the more I just think that the strat is actually just busted, that there isn't much counterplay. It is just yeah, it's just an overpowered strategy in League right now, and it's way harder to just beat it no matter what your counter picks are than it is to just ban it. So Terexona, super OP. Played against the inventor of it. I didn't even think he was that good, but he was ranked 7 on the ladder. So clearly he's been doing something right. He has been able to, you know, hit 1100 LP, something that a lot of people can't do. And I think a lot of that is because he's invented one of the best strategies out right now. Yeah, I guess the other thing would be National League players. On average, I think that National League players were pretty bad over there. You'd expect professional players to be of a higher level. And I think this comes down to the fact that there are so many different national leagues. I feel like EU would benefit from having, you know, maybe only like 4 or 5 major national leagues. So maybe you keep the Spanish league, you keep the Polish league, keep like the French league and the German league, maybe one more, and kind of funnel all your best players into there. It almost seems like the talent in national leagues is so spread out because you have so many different leagues, you have so many different pro players. I don't know how many leagues there are. Maybe there's 10, 15 national leagues. But if you think about that, 10 national leagues would mean that there's going to be at least 500 pro players that are playing in those national leagues. And I think that condensing that into smaller, yeah, just a fewer amount of leagues would make the overall competition better. I mean, it's gotten to the point where there's players that are Diamond 1 and Low Master that are in these national leagues, which I think that you don't really want to see. You'd much rather just have elite players that are willing to go pro in those leagues. But yeah, that's my own opinion on that. And yeah, I guess the last thing that I want to talk about is like the transferring, which is a huge problem in US solo queue. People don't really like, obviously I made a meme video about that on Twitter recently that got a bunch of views, but in general, just the amount of Turkish transfers really like ruined the game over there. And it's not just Turkish players. Like, I think people kind of misunderstood my point. The Turkish server isn't just Turkish players, if that makes any sense. The way that it works is the best Turkish players already play on EU West, right? Like, I played against Closer a bunch. All the players that are on the top teams in Turkey just play on the EU West server. So there's no real problem there. The problem is that the Turkish server has became kind of the LAN server to what NA is, where the people that aren't good enough to get Challenger in EU West just transfer their accounts to Turkey, get Challenger there, and then they transfer their account back over. And once they come back, they have such inflated MMR from playing on a weaker server that they just feed every single game. So you see a bunch of them with 30% win rate. If you ever see somebody with like a 25% win rate or 30% win rate in Diamond, it's almost always doomed. They'll lose lanes so incredibly hard that you won't be able to play the game. And yeah, it's something that Riot needs to fix. I just don't think that all servers are equal in terms of skill. I don't know why Riot thinks that all servers are equal in terms of skill, but the way I see it is this. if you're willing to have wildcard regions and you're going to force them to play play-ins, that's kind of an admission that those regions are worse. It's the same way as the teams that are considered better, or the regions that are considered better, that they don't have to play in the play-ins because they're considered to have stronger competition. And if Riot is going to view Turkey as a wildcard region, or they're going to view like the Russian server as like or the CIS as a wildcard region, I don't think that their MMR should be considered equal to that of EU West. I think between major regions it's fine. I think if you take a challenger NA player and you move them to EU West, maybe they won't be as good as their rating shows, but they'll be close. Whereas if you take a LAN player or a Turkey player and you put them in a EU West or NA game, they're normally going to be well below the actual skill level of the game. So I think that's just something that needs to be fixed. If Riot wants to go with the mentality that all regions are equal in terms of skill, then I don't think that there should be a play-in stage. Then all regions should get a certain amount of spots into the World Championship, and they should just have a bigger World Championship, which is, yeah, so that's just my opinion on that. I think that that's it for EUS versus NA solo queue, just the differences that I spotted. I guess the last thing I'll talk about is what's going to be happening on my channel going forward. So obviously I didn't do any how to dominate. I didn't do any face check podcasts. While I was over there, I really just wanted to focus on solo queue and just playing the game, which I did over there, and it was really satisfying. But now that I'm back, I'm going to be releasing the same content that I was before on this channel. So you can look forward to that. I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into making sure that all my videos are high quality in terms of my educational videos or my podcast. I want them all to be really good. And now that I'm back, I'm motivated to, continue that type of content, and hopefully you guys enjoy and stick around for it. So yeah, I guess that's going to be the vlog. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I was able to provide some insight into EU versus NA, and yeah, maybe there's something that you learned from it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.